Hello and welcome to the March edition of Coffee and Kolache, or Kava a Kolache. I'm Cecilia Rakusek, the President and CEO of the National Czech and Slovak Museum and Library here in Cedar Rapids, Iowa. Vítame, we welcome you. Today is a great show. It's March, and we know March is the color of green for St. Patrick's Day, and we celebrate all holidays here. And I see, Marge, you're in your green already. Very good. But today is a very special show, and we have this wonderful live audience here today, which is great for Kava a Kolache. And our special guest, our very special guest, is Marge Nadel. And Marge is, as we call her, Iowa's treasure. And she truly is Iowa's treasure.
Well, I'll tell you, I came to watch. I'm supposed to be out there, not here.
Oh, no. You're supposed to be here because we're focusing on you. And then we have Jacob Lesson, who is our lifelong learning specialist. And we're going to talk about everything that's happening this month at the National Czech and Slovak Museum and Library. And I purposely wore a gold jacket because this is our 50th anniversary at the National Czech and Slovak Museum and Library. In 1974, a group of visionaries had this idea to build a museum, and it became reality in 1995. And today we have this lovely 5-gallery museum with a wonderful library that's going to be really growing this year, and exhibits unbelievable coming up, including Alphonse Mucha. But let's get started with March. We've already had January, had a big concert in January. We've had book talks in February. Every week almost, and every month, I know every month, we have something going on this year. We're celebrating every single day. So you come here often, and we'll make sure there's something happening for you. If you don't have internet, Jacob's got some signs for you with activities. So we'll be sure and let you know about those. But let's start, really focus on our star here. Marge Nadel has an exhibit that we have right now going on, and in the Anderson Gallery, and it's a real tribute to this lady who has made a real difference in our Czech culture and the preservation of our culture here in Iowa and the whole country. I mean, whenever I look at Marge Nadel's works, I just say, wow. And here we have an Easter cake that I know she always made.
I didn't make that one, but I make 5 of them every year.
Right. And Easter cake is something we all grew up with, right?
Yes.
And I remember as a young girl, we always have 2. One we could eat and one we couldn't eat. It was just for show.
Yes.
And then when it was hard, we kind of soaked it in our coffee. But so we have one here that I think Michelle Semino made. Someone made this one. I think it was Michelle.
Michelle made it.
It's lovely. And she's got the, Jacob, you want to hold that up?
Yeah, I can
That's
hold that
the form that you make the lamb cake
so you
with.
can set like that, and it's a ceramic.
Right, and we have forms in our store, metal ones, in our NCSM museum store. I think she just made it. So be sure you check out our store, because we do have the, this is something, I have my mother's, so you pass it on to your...
Well, I have my mother's, but it's a metal one.
Mine is metal too.
Ours is metal too, so that's interesting.
Yeah, so you can have different ones, but it's something you can pass on to your family, so I encourage everybody to do that. But let's talk about you, Marge, and your exhibit and your egg decorating. You're going to be offering a class.
No, I'm retiring.
But your family.
My family, I am so thankful for my granddaughter and my grandson. They've been helping me, and they're going to do it this year. So I'm going to try to keep my mouth.
Keep your mouth shut.
But you were a good teacher. But you know what you're doing is something every one of you in our listening audience, everyone here should do. You're passing on your legacy.
Yes.
I am so thankful for it. I really, truly am.
That's great. And we should be doing more of that. You know, I think so many times we have family members that want to learn, but we don't teach them. So thank you for doing it.
I learned it as a child. My uncle lived next door, and he always watched his mother and sister. So when he came to this country, he started doing it. And I just thought this is the way everybody did their eggs. And it's been my life.
I know. Krasice.
Yes.
Krasice.
Krasice.
Krasice, which is the egg decorating, and we have many of them in her exhibit here at the museum. And the classes will be, Jacob, when are we teaching those classes?
On March 22nd and March 23rd. We'll do an evening class on the 22nd on Friday, and then we'll do 2 class in the morning and class in the afternoon on Saturday.
So that, and
So,
people
yep.
can register online
Yes,
already?
register online. The RSVP is available to register. And like Marge said, her grandchildren, Tom and Emily, will be teaching the class this
And
year.
if Emily lets Tom talk, he does a good job also.
Well, that's going to be really great. And what a tribute to you, though. And so you can register, and if you don't have a computer, you can just call and
Yeah,
register.
you can always call and we can register you as well.
And now,
Yes.
are the materials for the egg decorating class available in the store?
They're available in the store, but we provide them as part of the
Yeah,
class.
that's all in my.
Yeah.
I turned everything over.
Mhm.
It's you use you use the tools that we have,
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
and if you want to purchase them yourself, then you do get them from them.
I
You-
see.
you
Okay,
get it from
okay,
the- yeah.
Okay.
So for the class, we have it provided to make it. But
Yes.
if you want to kind of bring some tools home and the kit home, you can purchase a kit in the store.
And so this is a real opportunity for you to create your own legacy and to create a sort of a tradition at home to make eggs. Now, the eggs we have here, these are sugar eggs, correct?
Yes, that has nothing to do with the egg.
Yeah, so
class.
people, the egg class, actually, there'll be eggs that,
An actual egg.
egg.
And we
Yep.
promise you a decorated egg in the 3 hours. Unless you drop it, break it, then sometimes that happens, and you
Yeah.
start all over. But
But we'll make sure you get one to take home.
yes,
That's
Yeah,
great.
yeah.
So do you want to tell us a little bit, you said you started with your grandmother? to
no,
do-
my uncle.
Your uncle started you. Okay, so your uncle taught you, and tell us about the whole process of your eggs.
Okay, there's several different methods that they use, and this is the batik method. You're probably familiar with batiking on material, but the same thing is done with the eggs, and you use a whole egg. You don't blow it out first. You use the whole egg, and you draw. We used to just have when I went out to the schools, I had a big thing of beeswax, and you had to dip the pen in. Well, now we use a special tool. It's called a stushka.
Mhm.
It's got a little well on it, and you put the beeswax in there, melt it over a flame,
Uh-huh.
and then that wax that comes out of that little tube. Too bad I didn't. I could have brought some tools, or
Oh, yeah, yeah.
we could have
yeah.
shown. But you draw on the egg with that little tool, and it's leaving a little line of wax,
I see.
so that you get usually. The easiest is to draw the whole design on the egg, and that's the lines that you're putting on with the wax. They're going to remain white,
Yeah.
and then you put it in the first light is dye, which is yellow, and then after it comes out of yellow, everything you want to remain yellow, you cover that solid with wax. Are you following me?
Yes, yes. you
Sounds
yeah.
kind of
And
like
then
time-consuming.
then it goes into the next dye, and it depends on what colors you
Mhm.
want to use as to
Okay.
where you go next.
Uh-huh.
And then when you're all done, everything is coated with beeswax except for your background color. And then the hardest part for me, I always thought, is removing that wax.
Okay.
So you hold it above the flame.
Oh, wow.
Yes, you're wiping that wax off as you're doing it. You don't want to get the egg over on the top of the flame because then it leaves black marks and there's
Yeah,
no
yeah.
way you can get
Mhm.
that off. It's a tricky thing.
That
It's
is
really.
tricky.
I'm surprised we get as much done in the 3 hours that we have.
I was gonna say that process sounds like more than 3 hours to me.
Well, the biggest problem is trying to keep everybody in the same step so you can go on to the next step.
That makes sense.
Because that's why we try to keep the design simple enough
Yeah.
that you can,
yeah.
But I have to
Enjoys it
say,
being a teacher.
I have to say, in the 3 years that I've watched this, they've been beautiful. Everyone, a couple of them are broken, but then they started over, but they've been really beautiful. So
Yeah.
it's a tradition that you can really pass on to your children. And
Yes.
So now, are you going to make some at home this year?
No.
You're not,
No.
but your family will.
Oh, I don't know if we'll do them at home because it's a process. You have to set all this stuff up, and it's easier just to do it at the class.
Yeah,
Mhm,
have it
okay.
done right.
I haven't done any at home for the last couple of years.
But the nice things about the ones you can keep them from year to year.
Oh, yes.
Mhm.
Yeah. Oh, yes. So when you do get all the wax off, then you put a hole. We used to put a hole in the top and the bottom and blow your brains out.
I remember
But
that.
there's a new tool now that you make the hole in the bottom, and you put this tool in there, and you take a good breath and blow it out in just maybe 2 minutes.
Wow.
Wow.
Oh, and that we'll use the tool in the class.
Yes. Oh, yes.
Oh, that's
Cool.
good, because I remember, I don't know how many of you in the audience do, but you would blow and blow, and they were like, you take a
Yeah.
needle. We take a needle just sometimes,
And
and we'd make the
pick-
hole bigger.
Yeah.
You did that too?
Yep.
Did you do that in Slovakia?
In Slovakia, yeah.
Yeah. Jacob is Cedar Rapidian, but he grew up in Slovakia, so
Yeah,
he has
yeah.
a lot of Slovak. So you're Slovak among two Czechs.
Yes.
But we call ourselves Czechoslovak.
Yeah.
Everybody always thinks I'm more Slovak, but I'm probably more Czech, and but I have some Slovak
Yeah,
in me too, so that's good.
I've been very fortunate. I had good parents, and I was going with two guys, and Ed told me to choose him. He would promise me a good life,
Aw.
and he did. And he's Czech. He was
See.
Czech,
Yeah.
and everything that I did, he was always at my back to help me to
Oh,
promote
nice.
the Czech stuff that we wanted to do.
Well, I remember growing up, because we're telling stories, that we, in Tabor, South Dakota, we always had Czech priests from St. Procopius in Lisle, Illinois. We always had to have a Czech priest. And I remember when you got married and you went for your lessons before you got married, you had to go, the priest would say, "Is he Czech?" So he kind of wanted to make sure that you had a check. That was quite interesting.
funny.
But now, so for Easter, we have the Easter cake, we have the eggs, the kraslice. What other traditions do Jacob or Marge? What other traditions did we have?
You want to go ahead and tell? This is a handout that I do at the egg class.
I know you had brought this thing here, so did you want to say what you call it?
Well, it's a noisemaker.
Yeah, but in Czech, what you
And
call it?
there's several different things about this.
Mm-hmm.
Some of them say that it's just
Yep, that's
A noisemaker.
to scare the spirits away.
You'd scare
And
the evil
some say
spirits.
this is announcing that Easter's coming. And I use it in class when I want to talk and I want them everybody to be quiet.
that's smart,
That's
yeah,
a good
yeah.
idea. That's a good idea. Yeah.
But my cousin made this.
Oh, really?
Yeah, it looks really nice. And then you added the designs,
Oh,
correct?
yeah.
So that's nice. And then is that the Czech name for it? The
Yes.
Przechataczka?
And the Slovaks have a different name, but I didn't.
I can't remember the Slovak name for it. I was just thinking through, I was like, wow, I can't
There is a
remember.
Slovak
yeah,
name.
there
for
is a
that.
Slovak
yeah,
name.
That's
yeah,
right.
yeah.
Maybe on our Facebook, people can write it in if they think of it.
I think Michelle said she's going to go look.
Okay, she's gonna go.
Like I
look.
know for like that tool that you use for doing the wax in Slovak we call it kiška. So sometimes they're
call it a
different.
stužka.
Stužka, yeah.
And if I'd have known I was going to be doing this, I could have dug out. No, I can't. I turned everything over to my.
To Tom
See,
and
but you're
Emily.
here, and that's the most important thing. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's the most important thing.
Uh,
So for Easter, were there any other traditions? I know then, so you've got Good Friday, which we always didn't eat meat.
Yeah.
We never ate meat, and then on Holy Saturday we would, go to church. But then after at midnight, we'd eat all the meat we could eat. And but then Easter Monday. You want to tell us about Easter Monday in Slovakia?
Yes.
And
I'm
more
sure
so,
is it
more so,
in
they do it in the
Slovakia?
Czechs, but
Okay,
the Slovaks
yeah.
really, and I still do this.
So yes, so we call it a shibach, but I feel like maybe there's a different Czech name for that little corded whip thing.
Oh, that.
Yeah,
Oh, I
what's it
forgot
called in
about that.
Czech? I can't remember.
Shibach, I would call it a shibach.
Shibach? Okay, yeah. So we call it shibach, but you take willow fronds and you braid them into this little switch. I mean, it can be long, it can be short, and then the boys will attach ribbons to the end. And it's kind of a shocking tradition to 21st century ears because it totally does not sound fair between boys and girls. And so, what?
Poznamka? Maybe a Czech. Yeah.
Poznamka is like a stamp or like a letter. or
I'm not
so-
sure.
Yeah.
We always call it shibach, but that's the
Yeah,
Slovak
shibach
name.
is
But
what I
it
call
does
it.
have a different Czech name.
Yeah, I'm not sure. But so
I
the
can't
boys
think of it.
go around and they have, well, it varies. It varies from like doing a little spray of perfume to sprinkling with water to dunking buckets onto dumping people in the stream. So there's a kind of a progression there depending on your village or region. But the boys will go and they'll tap the girls with the little switch and then they'll sprinkle them with water or other things. And then the girls would give them candy or give them eggs. And so it was not a very fair tradition if we think about it in 21st century terms. But you kind of had put some of the meanings behind the designs, and it was really a cultural celebration of life, and the switching was meant to like bring the girls health and beauty and things like that, and then the eggs were like a symbol of life, and I know there are a bunch of different things kind of associated with that. So it wasn't like all unfair and nefarious. It had kind of a cultural significance and a deeper meaning to it.
And you know, nowadays, when you tell that the guys have a switch and they're switching, you have it. The times are different.
Yes.
You're giving a switch to a guy so he can beat the back of her skirt. What's going on? You know?
And they just tap it, and it's braided out of willow or.
It's very just a gentle like a tap tap.
And then the guy, usually the girl will tie a ribbon on the top of it if he get. And the guy with the most ribbons, like who's the most successful, he got the. And I've been in Slovakia sometimes for. I've never been in the Czech Republic at Easter, but I've been in Slovakia. My microphone. And what's kind of unique is that you tie the ribbon and they just tap you. You know, it's kind of. And then they want one of four things. They either want an Easter egg, money. Slivovitze or a beer. So they, you know, they expect Slivovitze is the plum brandy for those of you that. So you have to, you know, be ready to give them. I got drenched one time in Bratislava. They took a whole pail of water.
They did take a pail in Bratislava.
In Bratislava outside, and then they said, "So what do you have for us?" So I had to give them, you know, egg, and then I gave them Slivovitze. So yeah, it's quite, but it's a tradition that means life. It means rebirth, and it doesn't mean to be sexist or anything. It's just a tradition.
No, it's a tradition.
No.
Yeah.
And it one of these papers, it gives different what the farmers used for different designs and things like that. It's really interesting. Nowadays, you know, people just do the egg to do the egg.
Yeah,
and it's a fun art. It really is. I always called it a magic art. When before we had the museum, when the schools would study the different countries, I did the eggs and Olga did the music and everything. But to tell the kids about some of this, it was a little bit difficult because they weren't getting it, and that it's a fun art part. But it is a magic art.
Yeah, that's true. Because I do see you've got your symbols here, and then you kind of explain the meaning. Yeah. Are there any symbols that are your favorite to use of those in those designs, or do you kind of like all of them?
Yeah, I like the hearts and flowers.
The hearts, yeah.
As you can tell by my.
No, it's great though. Hearts and flowers are happy. So did you for Easter either one of you make hoska?
No. That was Christmas time.
That was Christmas time.
Yeah, but we kind of made a braided one too.
Well, yeah. But
well, okay, maybe our neighbors would make it for both Christmas. I can't remember now if they would make it for both Easter and Christmas or just Christmas time. But we called it Vanochka or Vianochka in Slovak.
Yeah,
which is Christmas.
Vanochka. Yeah, Vanochka is like, and then Babovka. I think
Babovka may be at Easter time.
Right.
Maybe.
Vanochka was.
Well, we always
Metternich. How about a Metternich?
A what?
Metternich?
I wouldn't know at this point.
Okay, yeah.
I don't know what that is.
I think it was like bread too that they would have.
Yeah. I know there's so many different types of breads and pastries and different things.
Babovka we always had at Christmas time.
At Christmas time too.
Babovka,
And I can remember as kids, nobody wanted to be the first one to take a piece because you might hit the part where there's no filling in there.
Oh.
So, but
It's kind of a gamble.
yeah,
Yeah.
it was.
But what I think this is all leading to is a really important message for everybody here and for our audience is keep those traditions alive. That defines who you are. You could be Czech, you could be Slovak, you can be German, you can be Irish. But if you have traditions, keep them and pass them on because it identifies who you are. And I think that's so important in today's world especially.
It is very important.
You know, when I spoke to our immigration ceremony that we had here 2 weeks ago at the museum, we had 54 new immigrants.
I heard that.
And we had the ceremony here. One Slovak, there was one Slovak, and 30 different countries. But I said to them, proudly say you are an American now, but with Czech heritage with Slow. So always say you are an American, but with
Yeah.
Japanese heritage or what, so that you never forget what your roots are. And I
Yeah.
think, certainly Christmas and the holidays, but Easter is a really special time,
It is.
kind of to do the eggs, to do the lamb cake, to do even the little fun with the little whip and the fun. And I think that's really important that we pass that on because it identifies, and I think young people today, and especially, forget who they are.
Yeah,
We're an
and-
American,
yeah.
but
Yes.
we have some heritage.
Yeah, I mean, there's so much pressure to everybody wears the same hoodie, the same jeans, listens to the same music, is always glued to their phone, and everything's made of plastic and everything's canned and mass produced. And when you start to lose those beautiful things that make us unique, that's a big loss, and we don't realize that all the time.
Yeah, I agree.
And us Czechs and Slovaks are a big unique thing.
Yes, that's true.
Ask my son. Oh, my son, when I make a clam cake, it's either the nose or the ears. I can't remember which. Come by and okay, it's missing the nose.
When I was little, I used to like the back end of it
Because
because it had the most frosting.
Oh, the most frosting. You get that.
And I would cut that piece first because I liked the frosting.
Yeah.
So, are there any other memories you have of Easter, either one of you?
Not that I can think of right now.
Well, I have one more memory that, again, growing up in Tabor, South Dakota, Thabod, we had only one church, it was Catholic, but we always had to have an Easter hat, a new Easter hat. I don't know if any of you remember that, but it was always, every year we'd go and we'd have to buy a new Easter hat.
Huh.
Oh.
And then after Vatican, we changed a little bit, but we always had, I must have 50 hats at home.
50 hats at home.
Between my mother's hats and so we always got dressed up for Easter. That was a real big event to in the Easter parade.
Yeah.
So, we have so much. This is one thing that certainly our museum, with highlighting Marge with her exhibit and all her wonderful eggs, and the classes that her grandchildren are going to continue to preserve your legacy. And certainly, I hope that you make a cake at home. But we at the museum, because it is our golden anniversary, have a lot to share this year. And maybe you could just highlight, this is kind of a kickoff. Look at Marge ate half of her Kolache already. But we're going to be doing a lot of coffee and Kolaches and updating you. But what do you have planned, Jacob? I know you have some exciting things planned this
Yes.
month. So do you want to
Yes.
share them in next month?
So for this month, I think there's
Here,
some.
I can get this off.
Oh, okay, thank you. So there's some different programs coming up. Next week on Friday, we have a concert, a classical music concert, a pianist and a violinist, and that'll be free and open to the public. And so we're really excited for that. And then we have 2 book talks this coming week. One on March 5th from 7 to 8 with our board member George Drost, who's telling the story of his father and kind of giving a book talk on.
And I've read the book. It's
The Quiet Hero.
Quiet Hero.
Yeah.
It is fantastic. He
Yes.
talks about his father and how he escaped from the Czechoslovakia and how he had to leave George behind. George was there alone, and it's a fantastic book. So I hope that you come to that book review. It's a very he talks about his father. I'm not going to tell about the whole book, but his father, when he was escaping, he would type messages on the typewriter. No one knew what he was doing, and he would send them through Germany. And we have the typewriter here in the museum. It's part of our collection.
Is that the one in that The Faces of Freedom?
Yes,
That one.
that's
really?
his father's.
Okay.
So he's going to. So it's a really fantastic book, a great read, and he's going to be here to talk about that book on the 5th of March.
Yes, 5th of March. And then on the 9th, we'll have another book talk by the lady who actually did our oral history project. So she was the one who interviewed all these stories that we have in our collection of people who immigrated from what used to be the Czechoslovakia. And she's going to be giving a book talk on radio and politics in Czechoslovakia between 1945 and 1969. So end of World War II to kind of right after the Prague Spring.
And probably some of you remember her.
People that have never been in a communist country with, it's so different.
It is.
It's just it's heartbreaking.
I know.
It is.
You know, and my other son, he was 13 when we went, and he said, "Mom, can we go home?" I said, "No, we can't go home. We have to go by what we've got here, our visas and everything." You had to be there, and it's just it's hard to explain. Anybody that
Yeah,
wants to go
yeah.
back into the communist country, and have that, well, you should know.
Yeah, yeah.
It's altogether different.
It
Well,
is
you know,
totally
I just
different.
recently took my birthday present. We went to Southeast Asia, to Vietnam, and the one thing I heard over and over, and especially South Vietnam, was democracy is the most important thing you can have. You are so lucky in America to have democracy. You heard it over and over and over.
Mhm.
When my dad brought over my mother's relation, they could only have one person out of the family come.
At a time.
The rest of them could not come. So it was a brother and a sister, and it's hard to explain. It really
Mhm.
is, but you
Well,
can't say what you want to say. And we went along the border, and we saw the men with the rifles and the dogs and the barbed wire and watching us. And my mother says, "Should I stick my tongue out at him?" And
Oh, no.
the guy about had a heart attack.
Yeah, no, it's very different. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
So we've got this month your wonderful exhibit. We've got a concert coming up.
Mhm.
We've got 2 book reviews.
We have 2 more cooking classes. So for those of you who don't know, we have a chef, Tom Slapichka, who's actually from the Czech Republic, and he teaches online cooking classes. Just phenomenal chef. He's really fun to listen to as well. It's kind of it's a cooking class, but it's also a TV show. He's just really fun to listen to, and it's the pretzel. I think that is March 6th, and then we have buchtičky s kremem, which is like little buns in a vanilla pudding on the 13th of March. And we just had halushki this week, and that was really good. The sheep cheese dumplings with bacon, and that hands down is probably my favorite food.
How many of you here have had halushki?
Okay.
1, 2.
We
Yeah.
always thought that was Slovak.
It is Slovak,
It
yes,
is Slovak.
yes.
Oh, yeah, it is very
So
Slovak.
I
Yep.
really don't know what it is.
So they take potatoes and you grate them and you combine it with some flour and sometimes egg, sometimes not egg. It kind of depends on where you're from and what the recipe is. And some people also blend the potatoes to make a finer dough, and they mix it up into this paste. And then the traditional method is you would just kind of flick off little pieces with a knife off the edge of like a cutting board or something. But the modern method is you use one of those, I don't even know, a colander with like the holes in it. And
I
you
call them
squeeze
halushki makers. Halushki makers.
Or halushki makers. You can squeeze the dough through to make these little dumplings. They're very small. And then you add brinza to it, which is a soft sheep cheese. It kind of maybe similar to feta in flavor, feta cheese, kind of this nice sharp aromatic cheese. And then you add some bits of crispy bacon on top to
Lots of
finish
crispy
it.
bacon on top.
Well, it depends. Some people are like, oh, be careful with the bacon, don't do too much.
Yeah, and you could put
I
it,
love bacon. So.
I do too. And that's always you want more bacon. And then sometimes if you don't want to even put less bacon and put sauerkraut, then you have strapachki.
Strapachki, yeah. Rather than brinza, you do sauerkraut. So that's the other way you fix those dumplings. So
And
it's
I
very good.
And can I, for those of you
Yeah.
that are on a time schedule, I buy gnocchi. And I can make them, and I usually do make them. But if I've got company and I have to quickly do something,
Okay.
I buy gnocchi, and I use the gnocchi and put the brinza. I get the brinza from there, but you can also the feta with cream cheese or
Yeah.
you bought goat cheese.
I
And,
actually bought sheep cheese from the global market in Iowa City, and they have like this feta and brine that it can mimic the flavor pretty closely. So it's not the authentic one, but
it's
it's
pretty
as
good.
close as possible. And
Sure.
it's still from Bulgaria, which is a bit south of Slovakia. But
yeah, and so mix that with your gnocchi, and then you can use the
Mhm.
bacon, or if you don't want to use the cheese, then just use the sauerkraut and
Mhm.
make it with
Mhm.
bacon in there too. And that's like the traditional dish. That's the #1 dish of Slovakia.
yeah, it is. It is if you ask anyone in Slovakia, what's your #1 traditional food? I would say maybe 80%, 90% would
Bryndzek.
say halushki.
Halushki,
Yeah.
Bryndzový halushki. And everybody really, like, they compare who's got the best ones. But they make them from scratch. They don't cheat like
yeah,
I do.
Yeah.
I like to, when I'm in a
How are
hurry.
we getting talking about food? All of a sudden, my cousin that lives in Utah, we're talking about plum dumplings.
Oh, my favorite.
Yeah. Are those big round ones with the plum in the middle that
Yes.
you boil?
But they're not big, but
They're like this
Yeah.
size,
yes,
maybe.
and
Yeah.
those are they don't sell them all the time. It's seasonal. And where she's at, they have them all the time because they used to make prunes there.
Okay.
And where
Yep.
she's at.
Oh, plum dumplings with butter and powdered sugar. Oh my
Oh my
gosh, here
gosh.
we go. But I think, again, this all these traditions. They say that when you pass on things to your children, the one thing they'll remember the most is the food.
Yeah.
Second are the cultural traditions around holidays. And then third is our folkware. And I think folkware is really important too to keep, alive. And even if I think of Nebraska, Wilbur, Nebraska, everybody wears a vest there for check days. Everybody, and that, it's not a full croy, but it's a vest, and so that's really good. But anything else that you want to report to us?
Well, that's kind of March. I know we're having, for Hobie Days, we'll be having a band from Kyiv, a group of musicians and dancing, I think, too.
32 young people.
32 Zush kids. So Zush means Zakladna Umelecka Škola, which is a primary school of music, sort of, and it's a after school, like music, arts, fine arts school. So they'll be giving a folk dance and music presentation.
Right.
And then in the summer, we'll have several workshops, the Moravian folk art, a class on making a kroy, and a puppet making class and a puppet performance. So
you can come to Cedar Rapids for a whole week, those of you in our listening audience,
yes.
and learn how to make a kroy, or learn how to paint these beautiful pictures,
Yes.
or learn how to make puppets. So you can
Yep.
come for a whole week, which is really going to be great because
Yeah.
we want to get the school going. So,
Yes.
and the last thing that I have to give a plug out for, watch for next month. We are going to launch ncsmltv.com. It will be a TV streaming station. So you'll be able to watch our programs, you'll be able to watch all our exhibits and shows with Marge, and it'll be like a Hulu or another version of a live stream,
Yep.
but it'll be ncsmltv.com. So watch for that. Now, you will have to have a computer for that. Or on your
Or an
phone,
iPad
or iPhone.
yeah.
But that will be very exciting because then we'll be able to go all over the world so they can see what we're doing here.
Yes.
Anything to say about that?
Well, I'm excited for it. So
Yeah,
I'm
yeah.
excited to see what all we'll put on, and I
Yeah.
definitely have ideas of things I'd like to create.
Yeah,
so.
well, that way we can, because people say we want programs, that's why we can get them out. So I know that, are there any questions from our audience? Okay, we're perfect for time. Michelle, did you have something to tell us? You were looking up stuff?
Oh, yes, this is it. So the Czech word and, the noise maker.
This is the Czech, the Slovak word,
What's that thing?
Yeah, the
ratačka.
Yeah, ratačka. But the shibach,
The shibach, the whip,
The whip,
the whip. Slovak is gotovač, and shibačka.
Oh, and so you were thinking Poznavka, it's pomlaška. So yeah,
Oh, yeah,
pomlaška.
there
yeah.
you go.
Yep.
Very
So
good.
yeah.
Plomačka,
Yep, close.
yeah.
Yeah.
It's great. Yeah. So thank you, Michelle. Are there
Yeah,
any
thank you.
questions about anything? Michelle, I'm going to put you on the spot. Would you like to tell them about some of our classes that we're going to be teaching? We're expanding our Czech classes.
Yes, so we will be offering a Let's Talk Czech. It's just a conversational Czech program. It's going to be offered on Wednesday nights from 5 to 6. And with that, we will do online, and we're also offering that in person. We'll be using a textbook just to help guide the conversation. Not that you're bound to use it, but it's going to be kind of a low-key, low-cost way to learn the Czech language. So I invite you to give us a call. Let us know. It's going to be on the events page, as well as the Check 'em Out book club that has been going on for almost a year now, and that's held on the third Monday of every month here in the library. So you're welcome to join us for that as well.
Thanks, Michelle. Because we both agree that, the language is something so important to keep and maintain. And I think so many times I see people that move here from the Czechoslovak republics, their children go to school, they forget their language.
Yep.
And
It's easy to forget.
I know.
It is. It's very easy.
I was in the store one day, and I thought, I can hear somebody talking Czech. Really? Really? So I went up to him and I says, "Mluvíte česky?" "Oh, no." And so me, with my broken Czech, that I thought, so I talked to him a little bit, and I says, "Když jsem byla malička, tak jsme mluvili česky, protože moje babička bydla s námi. A teď moje jazyk nechce udělat, co mozek myslí. A jsem stará, tak mozek moc nemyslí, protože..."
She was perfect. She said that you're perfect. Yeah.
What I was saying is that I was speaking Czech, but now my tongue doesn't want to say what my brain is thinking. Now that I'm old, my brain doesn't do much thinking either.
But remember what I told you, and that's a good way to close. No one is ever old. When I used to teach in the medical school, we used to tell physicians in geriatrics class that never say to a patient they are old. You should always say, you're getting up there in years and you're maturing. You're maturing. So we had a paradigm. 50 to 70 was middle age. 71 to 85 was early maturity. And 86 and beyond was latent maturity. So you're just at a different stage of maturity. No one is old. And I like that because sometimes you go to a physician and you come back depressed, oh, he or she thinks I'm old. No, you're not old. It says that you're mature. So you're just mature.
I'm mature.
You're a treasured, mature lady. So with that, we sign off on this March session of Kolaches and Coffee, Kolache and Kava. And we'll dig into the kolaches. Who made the kolaches, Michelle?
I did.
You did. Wow. Good job. So with that, we'll sign off and we'll say Dobrý den, Veselý Velikonoce. Happy Easter, Veselý Velikonoce. And check out our store because they do have a lot of these great things, and we'll look forward to the class. And Marge, we'll see you soon again.
Hopefully.
Okay. Tak nashledanou a dovidenia.